Hello, welcome to an adventure. I hope that you are having a great week. I hope that you can hear me. I think everything is set up properly, but there were updates to OBS that were causing me a couple of issues. So let me know if there are any problems, and I will see what I can do to address them. But hi, welcome everybody. I see Key Squared. Hi, Key Squared. Thank you for letting me know that I am audible. Apparently I am somewhat red today. I don't know. Sound is happening. Captions are happening. Music is not drowning me out. Thank you very much, Lord Portico. Oh, thank you, Pretty Witchery. Hi. Oh boy. Well, welcome to Archival Adventures. For anybody on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Apparently, I don't know what happened. It's the same lighting I always have, but for some reason, I don't know. I look pinker today. Whatever. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'm going to shrink down and be in the corner of the screen anyway. Thank you, Hannah, for confirmation of audio on the library's channel. Hi. Let me actually get the show started for anybody who might be unfamiliar. This is Archival Adventures. It is a once-a-week show where I share items from special collections and university archives here at Virginia Tech. I am Anthony Wright Day Hernandez, Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech, and also known in the Twitcherverse as Rogan27. This show is going out to two channels, twitch.tv/VTUL Studios, which is the libraries channel. That's VTUL, as in Virginia Tech University Libraries Studios. And then also to my personal channel, which is twitch.tv/Rogan27. And someday, in the not so distant future, I will figure out the proper setup to get this to actually work live on YouTube at the same time. Not quite there yet. I've tried. Didn't quite work. We'll get there. But for now, dual Twitch channels. And welcome in whichever channel you're on. I've got both chats open, and hopefully, if you got questions, hopefully I have answers. I don't know. Hi, Bit. It's good to see you. So what we do here is we take a look at items from history. We're looking at primary sources. We're looking at original documents. And most of the time I've never seen them before. So it's kind of like an unboxing, but it's an unboxing of history. It's fun. We learn. But since we are looking at history, and this is sort of part of my official work for Virginia Tech University, it's important to pay attention to the history of Virginia Tech. So we just review this at the top of every episode. Virginia Tech acknowledges that we live and work on the Tutelo and Monacan people's homeland, and we recognize their continued relationships with their lands and waterways. We further acknowledge that the Morrill Land Grant College Act of 1862 enabled the Commonwealth of Virginia to finance and found Virginia Tech through the forced removal of native nations from their lands in California and other areas in the West. Virginia Tech acknowledges that its Blacksburg campus sits partly on land that was previously the site of the Smithfield and Solitude plantations, owned by members of the Preston family. Between the 1770s and the 1860s, the Prestons and other local white families that owned parcels of what became Virginia Tech also owned hundreds of enslaved people. Enslaved Black people generated resources that financed Virginia Tech's predecessor institution, the Preston and Olin Institute, and they also worked on the construction of its building. So, what are we looking at today? well, you probably have a clue from the stream title, but today, today the plan is to look specifically at food and agriculture during the wars, although that's maybe a little too limited. I don't know. I was never 100% sure on what the title should be, but because it also, there's propaganda and rationing, and we've done World War II on the home front before. This is going to be similar, but with specifically looking at some farming programs and stuff like that, food saving. Basically, we're going to be once again diving into the early to mid 20th century and taking a look at what was asked of civilians during those conflicts with regard to support for the wartime effort. I don't think we will go specifically like into women in aviation or women in manufacturing like Rosie the Riveter. That's not the focus of where we're going. We're going to be looking more at the types of things that were asked of people, such as giving all of their nylons to make parachutes rather than wearing them on their legs. Things like that. That kind of request for support from civilians during wartime. So in order to do that, we've got a number of collections here that Sterling pulled for this week. We have the World War II Food Ephemera Collection, a World War I Baker Recruitment Poster, Military and Wartime Cookery Collection, the Blacksburg, Virginia Polytechnic Institute Civilian Defense Council records, which I know that we have glanced at before on stream. And they were also like the graphic for the starting screen. And then some stuff from the Rare Books collection. Actually, it looks like maybe just one item from the Rare Books collection, which I happen to have under the camera right now because I was using it to position things. So how about we start with this one? Food Saving and Sharing from 1918, published by the United States Food Administration, which I'll have to double check, but I'm fairly certain is now the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. As I say let's 3 times. Hi. It's Food Saving and Sharing. I will try not to be super bouncy, but until I manage to find a camera stand that is much bulkier and then get it ordered and in place. This one is really flimsy. So it bounces. I try to stop it. Food Saving and Sharing. America's Food Pledge. 20 million tons. Prepared under the direction of the United States Food Administration. So I've never seen this item before. It's not one I was familiar with. It's got, as you can see, the spine, the cover of the spine is gone. This is what it looks like under the spine. So you can see each of the little, what are they called? I can't remember the term. Are they, they're not just called leaves, are they? I honestly do not remember the term. Does anybody know bookbinding? I'm not an expert in bookbinding. Let me double check this terminology. Okay. I did not remember this term, so I'm glad I looked it up. You can see the individual signatures because they're called. It's called a signature. And since this book is in such a state, I'm going to use that to show it off. I can do this. So the signatures would be essentially books are stacks of these little bundles of pages. So you've got little sections of bundles of pages that the paper itself is the full width of like the book when opened, and then each signature is folded over, and then those individual signatures are sewn together. So you can't really see it on this one too easily, but generally speaking, and in good binding, they'll be pierced through in a couple of spots and then sewn together. So when you see like a hardcover, a leather-bound hardcover, and it's got on the spine a little spot that bumps out, and then another little spot that bumps out, and another little spot that bumps out, that's actually because under that bump is where the thread is that binds the signatures together. So that's why there's a bump. This one then has been glued, and then it's got a thread that isn't through the signatures, it's through the glue. But it's still held together pretty well. We don't often get to see a book spine in this state on stream, so I thought I would take a second and sort of show it. Send it off for preservation. Hey, speaking of sending things for conservation, Sterling, thank you for the reminder. As people know, as some of you know, we have been reading a journal once a month, the Journal of the Chief Engineer of the USS Dakota from the American Civil War. And we've been looking through it and reading through it once a month. And I'm not going to stop, but there will be a pause. It's going on hiatus, if you will. Sorry if that was if that upset anybody. I know the extended community. The word hiatus, not exactly welcome. Hi, Puddleglum. So the Philip Peltz Journal. Oh, and Bit Rebellious, congratulations on being randomly selected as VIP for the stream. Enjoy the extra little graphic emoji diamond next to your name for this stream. The Peltz Journal, we had the opportunity to send it to the conservator. So the streams looking at it will pause, probably for about 6 months, because the physical journal is with the conservator in North Carolina, who will repair the actual journal. It'll have a fully functional spine again. And so when it comes back, oh gosh, hi Fluid, and thank you so much for the resubscription. 22 months and with Prime, no less. Awesome. The journal is taking a vacation on a farm upstate. Yes, sort of. You'll miss the ease of putting that episode together. Yeah, that's part of why I like doing the series, because it honestly lowers the workload for prepping the show. But also that journal is amazing, which was one of the criteria of like, my boss was like, oh, I'm going to be heading down to the Conservator. Is there anything you know of that is a candidate? And I was like, well, this is an amazing piece. And it has no spine. So he looked at it and was like, yep, makes perfect sense. So it'll probably be like January-ish before it comes back from the Conservator. So we won't, I have scans of it. We could continue reading it, but I'm going to pause because I like reading from the original on stream rather than from the digitized copy. And once it comes back from the Conservator, I can pull up some stills from some of the previous streams for comparison purposes, and we can actually like show off the repair work that was done. So we probably won't revisit the USS Dakota until January, but it should be interesting when we do, because we'll have the repaired journal to look at. Do you not want your naval officers to be spineless? This is true, key squared. Anyway, so let's actually open this item. 1918. Addressed to the boys and girls of America. So we've got a target audience right on the inside cover. You can help 3 times a day by wisely choosing what you eat. You can help too in getting others to do the same. You can help to save from famine untold numbers of your friends across the sea. Oh, you should add this to the propaganda. Yeah, I mean, it is in fact actual propaganda. Wisely choosing lets you out, key squared. I love that it's addressed to the boys and girls of America. And so they've got people who I would say the illustrations are actually young adults. I would honestly be surprised if he was not about to head over to Europe as a soldier. He does not look young enough to be a boy. She's dressed in a sort of typical like flapper type fashion, which 1918, that makes sense. She's still a little bit early for like the hair bobbing, and as you can see, this is the silliest thing. If you're not interested, let me know. But you can see in the illustration here, she has long hair. Her style is moving into that like 1920s flapper flat. It was very fashionable for women in the United States during that period to be flat chested, because it was also really common to wear like pearls or something like that, and it was fashionable for them to hang straight down. And so having breasts caused them to not hang straight down. Yeah, fashion. But she's already got like the hair that in just a few years' time will be bobbed. It'll keep basically the same shape around the head, but the little like the flapper hat that pull down, like this hairstyle works really well with that, but she's still got the long tail. And then she has a neckerchief instead of pearls. I don't know. It's interesting to me. If you're at all interested in sort of that period and the whole like concept of bobbing the hair, which is just like taking that long tail and chopping it off, which was stylish. Cloche, thank you, Cloche hat. There is a movie called Bernice Bobs Her Hair. I honestly can't say because I haven't seen it in more than 20 years. So I don't know what objectionable content might be in it. But it's all about a woman in like 1920s America who decides to go ahead and bob her hair. And the sort of reaction of her social circle to her doing that. It's quite an interesting film. Anyway, and then he's got sort of a more formal look to him as well, compared to like what it would be today. He's got a double-breasted coat on, and then he's got the high collar with just the little tucked tips of the collar. It's hard to tell whether he's got an actual necktie or whether it's an ascot. From the illustration, I can't really tell. She seems like she's got just a single glass bottle of milk or something. And then he's got this whole picnic basket with Stars and Stripes shield on it. I think it's a really interesting illustration. How dare people have anatomy? I know, Puddleglum. It's not fashionable to have anatomy. That's what the CW considers to be teenagers in all of their teen drama shows. This is true. They would definitely be appropriate age to play teenagers on many television programs. When Calls the Heart on Hallmark. I'm not familiar with that show, Sterling, but for some reason it made me think of Touched by an Angel, just reading the title. Food saving and sharing. Ooh, oh dear. This is propaganda for sure. You get ads for it when you watch Golden Girls at night. That makes sense, honestly. There was a greater part of a chapter in Cheaper by the Dozen, insert historical text disclaimer, about the oldest girl getting a bob haircut without her parents' approval. After the argument with the parents, all the girls got bobs. Nice. Touched by an Angel was very problematic. I also loved it. There was that was a time in my life, and I don't know, they were feel-good stories. I enjoyed them. Here we have the hunger map of Europe. If anybody ever wondered, so I don't know if everybody in chat will be familiar. There is a cultural commonality, a cultural practice in the United States of America that was common enough that it showed up in sitcoms in like the 90s and 2000s of parents trying to get their kids to eat the food that was put in front of them on the table by guilting them over starving people in Africa or starving people somewhere else. Like, you better clean your plate, eat all of the food on your plate because there are people starving in other parts of the world. It's a cultural like guilt trip that was a common cultural practice in the United States. I don't know when exactly it started, but this is certainly part of it and maybe part of the origin of it. I don't know. This is what it made me think of, seeing this hunger map of Europe, was the whole common cultural experience of parents guilting their kids over needing to clean their plate. So here, this map says, now this was 1918 when this was published, and it's showing large portion of Russia, Finland, Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia with famine conditions. And then the rest, essentially, of Russia and not sure. Yeah, I don't know. But this is like more of Russia. This is getting into like. Okay, so this is just Europe. This doesn't even get over into Asia. That's what I was trying to figure out, because here's the Caspian as approaching famine. And then Turkey and Bulgaria and Italy. And is that Luxembourg? No. The writing is so tiny. Switzerland, thank you. Geographically, I was like, no, it's in the wrong spot for Luxembourg. All with like serious food shortage. And then you've got Portugal and Spain and France and England and Norway and Sweden and Ukraine with sufficient present food supply, but future serious. People's already receiving American aid. I'm not certain. Okay, that looks like there's just one. And it's it's a very strong magnet. Serbia. Actually, yeah, okay. Romania was lumped in with the Russia part of approaching famine, but it's Serbia receiving aid, and then Germany unclassified. They don't know, apparently. For those who don't know, the story of Cheaper by the Dozen is about a motion study / machine efficiency expert, his wife, and their 12 kids. About the haircuts, the parents ended up realizing that they didn't really care so much about the haircut itself. After all, a shorter haircut was more efficient. They just got upset with the oldest girl because they were afraid the other parent would be upset, of course. Anyway, so America's food pledge, 20 million tons. Like, they're trying to drive home that America has pledged that they're going to save 20 million tons of food, because an apple you don't eat here is certainly going to be useful to somebody in Russia tomorrow. Which, that argument might carry water today with preservatives and things like that. But an apple that a 9-year-old doesn't eat in Pennsylvania in 1918 isn't going to make it to Europe before it rots. So there's not really a reason to save it. Anyway, food saving and sharing. Telling how the older children of America may help save from famine their comrades in allied lands across the sea. Prepared under the direction of the United States Food Administration in cooperation with the United States Department of Agriculture and the Bureau of Education. Okay, we're not gonna... Oh, there's a... Before we read Herbert Hoover, there's a foreword here by somebody named Olin Templin, Director of School and College Activities. Director of School and College Activities for the United States Food Administration? I don't know who this person is. Olin Templin. Yeah, United States Food Administration. Which I believe is just today referred to as the FDA. So I'm double checking that now. If people want to do, yeah, it's the FDA. If people want to, you know, look up and confirm things like that and drop them in chat as I'm going, it's very helpful, but you don't have to do it. So, forward. The National Education Association, at its annual meeting, July 8, 1918, adopted a resolution calling upon the United States Food Administration to, quote, prepare a form suitable for use in public schools, and particularly in the upper grades, lessons and material supplementary to existing courses, which will promote the program of food conservation, end quote. That is just as wordy as one would expect a governmental resolution to be. Prepare in a form suitable for use in public schools, particularly upper grades, lessons and material supplementary to existing courses. So it's defining the target audience, upper grade levels. So young adults, essentially, like high school age, probably. Lessons and supplementary materials, lessons and material that will supplement existing courses and will promote the program of food conservation. Hi, Lord Fortico. Yeah, the lawyers and legislators got a hold of that. Dean of the University of Kansas, 1903 to 1920. Thank you, Fluidan. In response to this request, this little book has been prepared. It was written by Ava March Tappan, assisted by Alice Pelube Norton, editor of the Journal of Home Economics, Henrietta W. Calvin, specialist in home economics, Bureau of Education, C.F. Langworthy, chief of the Office of Home Economics, Department of Agriculture, and Sarah Louise Arnold, dean of Simmons College. It has been read and approved by H.C. Sherman, professor of food chemistry, Columbia University. We do have like a food science program here at Tech. So this would be exactly that kind of program. The manner in which the book can be used most advantageously will be determined by the teacher and by local conditions. It is believed that the information contained in it may properly be included in the instruction of American children at the present time. So this is starting out kind of like a textbook. This information will enable the children to contribute intelligently to the success of the government food campaign and thus aid greatly, oh dear, in the relief of the millions now dependent for their food upon the goodwill of the people of America. The United States Food Administration is grateful to the teachers for their loyal cooperation. November 1st, 1918. This is not something that you would see in an American publication today. It is almost unheard of today to have any accented characters in English, at least American English. Although, in 1918, we still retained things like the accent above the second of a repeated vowel. I don't want to call it by the wrong name, but diuresis. So in English, back in 1918, we had, like, this was not unheard of to have a diuresis. Today, you would not see that unless somebody's being pretentious. Just struck me as interesting. I also noticed this is an interesting copyright notice. Copyright 1918 by Doubleday, Page and Company. All rights reserved, including that of translation into foreign languages, including the Scandinavian. Why was it necessary for them to specifically call out that the right to translate it into Scandinavian languages was reserved? Did we often not reserve? Did we just let American things be translated into Scandinavian languages without any consideration? Why did they feel the need to specifically call out including the Scandinavian? I don't know. You've never heard of that in English bit? Yeah, it's definitely an artifact of older forms of English. And so this is back in 1918, and as you move further back in time, you'll see the diaeresis more. Just like as you move further back into like the 19th century, if you read things in English that are into the 19th century or the 18th century, you stop seeing the universal he as the generic pronoun, and you will come across writing where they is used to refer to individuals, because they was a singular pronoun. As you go further back in time, they was one person, you was multiple people. And today we have you for single people and you for multiple people, and we have they for only multiple people, supposedly. But it's actually using the they pronoun today to refer to individuals is really just bringing back a part of the language form that was used in the past. And then sometime around either like the late 19th century, I think it was mid to late 19th century when the language form changed and prescribed using he as the generic pronoun in English. And I don't know the reasoning behind that, but I know that that's around the time the shift happened. Sorry, 1918 was World War I, yes. Like how they stated that the teachers should tailor the teaching of this to their area. Now it's much more of a one size fits all. No adjustments should be made. That's very true. What side was associated with areas that spoke Scandinavian? I don't know specifically. With World War I would have assumed that they were just general Europe. I don't know. We might have to look that up. I wonder if it was something related to wartime printing / publishing changes, but that's just guessing. So there is a note here from Herbert Hoover. To the girls and boys of America, now that the terrible war is over. Okay, so this is right after World War I. You must be glad that you helped to win it by saving food for our soldiers and our unhappy friends across the sea. But our work of feeding hungry people is now to be greater than it has ever been. Many millions of people have been made free by our victory, but they are in the greatest danger of death from starvation. They look to America for food until the next harvest. We must go on saving and sharing with them as faithfully as ever. And of course, you will want to do your part as you have been doing it. To save the world from famine will be a greater task than any of us can imagine, but we can do it if each of us does all he can. I am counting on you. Faithfully yours, Herbert Hoover. Need to do some research about the origins of super strict grammar rules, because I bet there's going to be a straight line between that and Enlightenment era rich white dudes saying, let's make everything math and logic. I would not be surprised by that, Puddleglum. Also, like, you can go back in time through images and find pictures of, like, was it Theodore Roosevelt running around in a white dress when he was a little boy? Because young kids up to a certain age all were dressed alike. They all ran around in dresses because dresses were easier to make and easier to clean, and just easier to put on and take off. So the little kids all wore dresses, whether they were boys or girls. And also, as you head back further in time, like in America today, we associate the color pink with girls and blue with boys, which is reversed from how it used to be. Historically, blue was the color for girls and reds, pinks were the color for boys. And there is so much research out there if you really want to delve into the causes behind those changes. It's fascinating stuff. Anyway, there is a lot of propaganda in this book, yes. Grace at the Table, 1918. I'm not going to read the prayer, but it's there if you want to look at it. It's written by Sarah Louise Arnold. Okay, so food saving and sharing, food in general, fruit and vegetables, foods that help build the body. Ooh, we get to learn about some nutrition ideas from 1918. Prove your Americanism by eating less. Okay, this feels like something we could, that we would have today, because there's so much fat shaming. And most of the time, it's not because people are eating tons of food. It's because our society does not support. Anyway, not gonna go there. Let's move on. Anyway, the slogan is interesting. Let's see what we got. So a photograph of a bread line in Europe. I have no certain idea of where this photo was taken. You might be able to narrow it down by researching the particulars of this guy's uniform. I don't know for certain everywhere that used that kind of hat. So you prove your Americanism by giving yourself an eating disorder. I was trying to remember why that name was familiar, so I looked her up. Sarah L. Arnold was president of the Girl Scouts in the 1920s. That does not surprise me, Key Squared. We actually did an entire episode on the Girl Scout. We did an entire episode about the Girl Scouts, the week of their sorry, I'm stumbling over words. The week of the Girl Scouts' 11th birthday, the Girl Scouts of America, that is, we did an entire episode just looking at stuff about the Girl Scouts of America. So that it's not surprising. Plus, the first thing I thought when I saw this illustration at the beginning was that she looks very much like the illustrations of Girl Scouts from the early Girl Scouts publications. Okay, food saving and sharing. We got the bread line. This little book was written to tell, first, what we did during the war to make sure that our own people and the Allies had their proper share of food, and second, what we have yet to do as our share in providing food for the common table. Before we can understand this, however, we must know what kinds of food each person needs to make him ready to do his work in the world. That is why the book is divided into two parts, namely, the value of different kinds of food and... Come on, camera. And what the United States did to provide food for ourselves and the Allies. It is worth remembering that people are thinking more wisely about food, that we must choose our food for health and strength, that the whole world sits at a common table and food should be shared fairly, that in peace, trade is the great agent of food distribution, that in war, only a strong food administration can make sure that all are treated fairly, that to feed people wisely, we must know the value of the different kinds of food. This whole book is propaganda. Also, this is right around the time that eugenics was becoming super popular. Eugenics was big between the wars. Food should be shared fairly. What kind of anti-capitalist claptrap is that? I mean, this was before the Red Scare. This was before the, severe backlash against any sort of communal thinking that might spark accusations of communism. So it was okay to say that people should share food fairly. It is worth remembering. I'm not gonna read the chapters. These just seem like these are what I want you to take away from this. It is worth remembering that food is useful to us in the three following ways. Oh, hi, Stephen Joy. Fuel food to provide power for work and to keep us warm, building food to provide material for building and repairing the body, and regulating food to keep the machinery of the body in good working order. This ties in really well to an upcoming topic that's going to take the place of one of the USS Dakota episodes. Only shifted by a week, but we're gonna go back and look again at the Hauser collection, which had some dubious nutritional claims, and it was very fascinating. Okay, so we've got USDA. This is the revised edition. Chart 12, fruit and fruit products. USDA States Relations Service, AC True Director. You gotta love when an agency that is going to distribute information that people are meant to trust is directed by somebody whose last name is True. Prepared by C.F. Langworthy, Chief Office of Home Economics, Composition of Food Materials. All right, so we've got protein, fat, carbs, ash, and water. And the fuel value in square inches equaling 1,000 calories. Ash and water. Proteins, fats, carbs, ash, and water. I wonder how much ash they thought you should eat per day. Maybe potash, meaning potassium. That would make so much more sense, Chi squared. It's the first time I've seen ash in this context, so I might have been confused. Grapes, the edible portion, because part of grapes is not edible, of course. Oh gosh, we have 16-bit Eric. Hello, Whimsies. Hello, 16-bit Eric. Welcome to Archival Adventures, everyone. I am Anthony Wright de Hernandez, Community Collections Archivist here at Virginia Tech, known on the Twitterverse as Rogan27. It is great to have you here. Hi. This is Archival Adventures. It is a once a week show where I basically look at random things from the archives and special collections here at Virginia Tech, and we talk about them and learn from them. It's fun times. But yes, indeed. Thank you so much for giving the shout out to 16-Bit Eric. If you're here and you don't already follow Eric, you absolutely should. The Whimsies is just one of the best communities out there on the internet. Very supportive people, very welcoming place, and Eric's just good times. A genuine, wonderful person. Thank you, Eric, for your continued support with the raids and just for being a great person. So yeah, follow Eric if you're not already. And hi, Blue Rooster, and Pretty Witchery, welcome back. And Rachel Tensions, it's good to see you. Thank you for the follow. Shay Rinky, thank you for the follow. And yeah, so today we're focused on World Wars I and II, and specifically homefront sort of food and agriculture stuff, but also just like drives to conserve things or etc. Lovely and very pretty in pink. Thank you. So yeah, they've got illustrations here of. So I'm curious. I want to find out about this ash. Apparently, there's 0.5%. I don't know what the numbers are counting. Calories. Sorry, calories. 0.5 calories from ash in the grapes. 3.4 though in the raisins. Interesting. So this is taking specifically starting with grapes and doing the analysis on that. So you've got the grapes and then you've got the raisins, and you can compare the differences in like the total number of carbohydrates, amount of protein, etc. And then, but then you've got unfermented grape juice that you can compare with the raisins and the grapes. You've got jelly, and you've got canned fruit. So this is all. It says composition of food materials. It should be composition of grapes. Is this for making wine in your bathtub during the war? Blue Rooster, I don't believe so. But I mean, it's targeted at like high school age kids, so who knows what they're going to get up to. Oh, what are our takeaways about fruits and vegetables? It is worth remembering that the first of the 5 great groups is composed of fruit and vegetables. Okay, 1918. When was the food, like the, like this is well before food pyramid time. What are the 5 great groups? I'm just curious. What are the 5 great groups? All right, I'm not finding it super quickly. If anybody finds it, let me know. The Beatles, the Stones, that I would argue that Depeche Mode belongs on that list, but that's a personal preference. That we need, especially for the making of teeth and bones, the mineral matter supplied by fruit and vegetables and milk. That if we use fruits and vegetables and milk freely, we are quite sure to get enough of the vitamins that are needed to make us grow. That fruit and vegetables also help to supply us with water and add to our food the bulk, which is needed in digestion. Bulk meaning we would refer to that today as fiber, but that's what they mean by the word bulk here. That fresh fruit and vegetables are so hard to ship that we can help by using those that grow near home. As I was saying at the beginning, asking a kid in Pennsylvania not to eat an apple because he needs to save food for starving people in Europe isn't going to be helpful, because they're never going to get that apple to Europe in time. Food material containing equal amounts of protein. So this is saying that there's the same amount of protein in a quarter of milk as there is in 12 ounces of bread, 4 eggs, 8 ounces of medium fat meat, 6 ounces of dried beans, or 4 ounces of cheese. That these are all equivalent with regard to the amount of protein that you get from them. I don't know, I haven't done the scientific analysis on that, but this is what they say. Let's see. I'm just gonna... We've spent a lot of time on this book, and I want to make sure that we look at some of the other things too, so... But this, I'm seeing here... Oh, you found what the ash is? That I would love to know, Puddleglum. I feel like this is laying the groundwork for what later would become the food pyramid. It is worth remembering that sugar should be eaten in small quantities and never before meals. That sugar is of value chiefly as an emergency ration and to make other foods palatable. That sweet fruits will give us much of the sugar we need, and other important things as well. That many fruits and some vegetables contain sugar, but only a few of them in sufficiently large quantities to pay for extracting, like beets. Oh, it's all the undigestible stuff in food. Interesting. I've never encountered that term in sort of that context. Little Europeans returning from an American soup kitchen with food for their hungry families. I honestly did not know that. So I grew up in like the 80s and 90s, the 1980s and 1990s. I obviously not the 1880s, but and there was stuff on TV all the time about like starving kids in Africa, which was specifically referring to Ethiopia and Somalia and like Eastern Africa. And it was this kind of communication. It was this kind of propaganda of like, for just 12 cents a day, you can feed an entire family. All over TV, all the time back then. And this is like the same thing. And I did not know that after World War I, that style of like, look at all these starving children over in Europe. Make sure that you're cleaning your plate. Make sure that you're, putting aside non-perishable foods to donate for the starving children in Europe. Like, apparently, like, I agree, yes, probably necessary to redistribute food to people who need it. But also, this led to some really negative, like, as I was citing earlier, guilting of children in the United States about, like, make sure you clean off your plate because there are starving people in Africa. I'm sorry, if your kid is full, let them stop eating. Yeah, it was that, along with Sarah McLachlan singing about baby animals. Uh-huh. I did not know. Chapter 8, Hungry Europe. In one of the magazines published during the war, there are some verses in which an American baby is supposed to speak. He tells of the good times that he had, and at the end he says, I'm fat and rosy and stuffed and pampered and happy, and maybe there's anything you can think of better to be than an American baby. Okay, that one is phrased weirdly, but I get it. Okay. Then another little one speaks, a French baby, thin and troubled, and with sad, questioning eyes. His father has been killed in the war, and he tells what a lonesome time he has while his mother is gone to work all day. He tells of the miserable grass tea that is all she has to give him to eat. Then he says, once in a blue moon, there's a large, deep-voiced person in black called the curé who brings me real milk, just a little. But oh, isn't it fine? And when I see it coming, warm and white, I'm in such a hurry that I whimper and whine for pure joy, and the curé smiles a bit, watching me, and says, I'm the hope of France. But how can a chap be the hope of France when he can't get enough food to have a chance? Wow. Okay, I'm going to put this one aside. It's very interesting, but we have other things. But oh, you had that too? The like Sarah McLachlan with the baby animals and there are starving kids in Africa. Yeah. I just never knew that they had used sort of that same kind of tactic with kids in Europe, like talking about all the starving kids in France. I never knew that was a thing. Curé would have been the parish priest. Thank you, Puddleglum. I did not know that. I took 1 year of French in 8th grade. Okay, this next one, it's going to take me 1 second here because I need to make the camera a lot taller. I don't know exactly how much taller, but taller. And I need to move the keyboard out of the way and move the mouse out of the way and like shift things around because we're going to look at the largest item that I have shown since we moved to this new setup. Wait, one word in Spanish for priest is cura? That's interesting. It is indeed interesting. Okay, sorry. You get to see some behind the scenes. Okay. Now I'm pulling out the World War I Baker recruitment poster, which the poster itself is really big, and it is affixed to a plain undyed muslin. Das Blinkenlights. So there's some muslin involved here as a backing for this, which I'm guessing was added afterwards, but I don't know for certain. And let me just move the camera a little. Whoops. It's actually sturdy. Like the muslin backing makes it sturdier than it might seem. I was gonna grab tape measure here because I don't know the dimensions of it. Everything is just trying. There. That's better. The table's big enough. It's just doing it and getting it on camera at the same time, which is somewhat complex. All right. So we'll get to see the whole thing eventually. Come on. Okay. I have tape measure. So this is 40.5 inches in height and 28 inches wide. So it's a large poster, yes. And you can see the illustration here, which is very. This is, yeah, I was going to say it's very World War One, and indeed this is the World War One poster, because these are definitely World War One American uniforms, and as you can see, like the shape of the tents, it's iconically World War One. And then, so they've got an oven, and they're baking bread, is what they're doing. The illustration itself, I don't know whose signature this is. Is it Dewey? I don't know. Let me see. Let me see what the finding aid says. World War One Baker Recruitment Poster. This collection contains a poster from World War One recruiting bakers and cooks. It likely dates from around 1917 from New York City. The poster includes the note, wanted 500 bakers for the U.S. Army, also 100 cooks. A baker company consists of 61 men, so you and your pals can join the same unit. Bakers pay $33 to $45 per month. Cooks, $38 per month. Is there more? Did it work? It didn't work. That it would have been too easy if it had worked. Haha. It is immaculate. Very good condition. We'll look at the bottom half of it in a second. Yeah, the finding aid doesn't really say any more. So if I move the camera up even more, I'm gonna take it off of the stand altogether and just like, hi. So we've got just so you get a sense of like that is like the poster. I'll actually hold it up and like walk back in a second to give you a better, less sort of awkward, but yeah. Let's look at the bottom half of this. Wanted 500 bakers for the U.S. Army, also 100 cooks. If you can bake bread, Uncle Sam wants you. If you can't bake bread, Uncle Sam will teach you how in a government school. A bakery company consists of 61 men, so that you and your pals can join the same unit and bake and break bread together. Enlist for the war. Bakers pay $33 to $45 per month, ages 18 to 45. Cooks pay $38 per month, with clothing, food, quarters, and medical attention. Recruiting office, corner of 39th Street and 6th Avenue, southeast corner. It's the National Printing and Engraving Company in New York. This looks to me like DAWEY as like the painter's signature, but I don't know. Why is PALS in quotation marks? Because PALS is PALS would be colloquial. it would be it would have been like a slang term that the kids were using. So the people, they were using the kids' like language to recruit people. It would have been like using the word yeet non-ironically on a recruitment poster for the Army. They definitely would have put the word yeet in quotation marks, even if they were using it correctly. But let's see. Oh, let me switch to the other view, and then I'm gonna like stand up and show you this. Yeet is a versatile word, kind of like aloha. Like yeet and aloha don't mean the same thing, but they both mean many things. Oh dear, we're gonna get some green screening. I can turn the green screen off. Shut off the filter for a second. Filters. It's funnier with the green screen. So now the chair wants to get in the action. It's a big poster. This is one I believe that we're going to do a reproduction of for an exhibit that we're putting up sometime later this month. So by reproduction, what we'll end up doing is we'll have a scan of it, and then I will... Great. Thank you, green screen, for... I don't know what happened. There we go. Yeah, so it's... I don't know, it's not perfect green screening anymore. It was good before. Now it's... whatever. All I did was turn it off. Turning it off and on again broke it. What? What was I saying? Oh, we're about to do an exhibit about propaganda in the library, featuring like special collections stuff. So I believe that this poster is one that we're going to do a reproduction of. And by that, what'll end up happening is we will scan it. So we'll have a digital copy of it, and then I will print it on vinyl and stick it on the wall. I think I'm going to have to actually try and actually do a reproduction at the exact same scale, because it's impressive how big it is. Love the phrase bakery company. He's the boogie woogie. He's the boogie woogie baker boy of Company B. I did have boogie woogie bugle boy going through my head, so appropriate. If you had to be in the Army, I'd sooner be a cook or a baker than literally anything else. Yeah, I enjoy baking. We may have come across this topic before. Okay, back to, let's see. Oh gosh, I forgot it was still ginormously high in the air, so you all could see everything I'm doing. But I'm not done with the oversized stuff. The breath can't give me weapons. I'll be tempted to aim at them. Despite the signature, nobody knows who it was. Really? Did you try to look it up? Because I haven't taken the time to try and look up the signature, but tracking down artists via signature is not the easiest, since Library of Congress doesn't know. That's probably a pretty good bet then that they don't know whose signature that is. Or that nobody really knows whose signature it is if Library of Congress doesn't have that information. Okay, so this is oversized stuff from the Blacksburg Civilian Defense Council records. We have previously, when we looked at the World War II on the home front, like we did the episode World War II on the home front, we looked at stuff from this collection. But I don't think we ever got to the oversize materials. So, Salvage Committee Chairman. Here are 8 fat salvage advertisements which you should be able to persuade local advertisers in your community to sponsor and pay for in your newspapers. A large department store might be glad to sponsor all 8. Or you can get 8 local merchants to underwrite the series, each store sponsoring 1 ad. A credit line should appear below each locally sponsored advertisement. For example, this advertisement contributed by the XYZ company, 000 Main Street, to further the government's Fat Salvage campaign. Your local publishers will advise you of the cost of running these ads. Advertisers may obtain mats at no charge from, the Fat Salvage Committee. I didn't, in reading through it, immediately understand that the Fat Salvage Committee, where they talked about the Fat Salvage advertisements, it didn't register in my brain that they meant salvaging fat. I thought they were like, there's some fat ads, which totally inappropriate for the time period, but that's still how my brain interpreted it. What to do with fats during rationing? What? Okay, I'm gonna read the next one though, because what? To the woman who asks, will I have enough fats to save for gunpowder? Because every woman asks how they're going to have enough fats to save for gunpowder, right? That's just a common question. It's easy to see what you're up against. Cooking fats are rationed. You're saving them, of course. Oh, come on, stop bouncing. But you want to use them over again. And that's perfectly right. The government doesn't want your fats, even to make gunpowder, until you've got all the food use out of them. But when you have, every spoonful, every drop is desperately wanted. And not a housewife in America has too little to save. Okay, I am unfamiliar with... I think I need to go to the previous one, because I did not know that people were asked to save up their cooking fat to make gunpowder. This is a new one for me. What to do with fats during rationing? First, save every drop from pan drippings, gravy skimmings, etc. to use again in your cooking. The government has asked for fats to make gunpowder, but it doesn't want them until you've got all the cooking good you can out of them for various dishes you may want to make. Then, when all the cooking good is gone, don't throw your used fats away. They're desperately needed for gunpowder. Every little bit counts. Just 1 tablespoon will fire 5 machine gun bullets. even with rationing. You can save that much every day. Keep it in a can. Rush each canful to your meat dealer. Just 1 tablespoon of used cooking fat will fire 5 machine gun bullets, apparently. How to make cooking fats do double duty. Let's see. Of course you can! There's no conflict between rationing and saving your used cooking grease to make gunpowder for our men at the front. And the reasons are very simple. First, the government doesn't ask for your fats until you've got all the cooking good out of them. And second, even if you consume a lot of them in using them over, what you have left is vitally important. No housewife need think she has too little to turn in, because just 1 simple teaspoon of used fat will make 5 machine gun bullets. Save every precious drop, keep it in a can. When full, rush it to your meat dealer. Glycerin can be extracted from fats, which is used for gunpowder. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Some things about the American Girl books didn't age well, but I will say they did have a really interesting sections at the ends of the books that talked about the realities of living in whatever historical area the doll character was in. The history sections for Molly, the World War II era doll, had lots of information and pictures about things like rationing and propaganda posters like this. Yeah, they're fascinating. The Library of Congress has an amazing collection of World War II propaganda posters. Make munitions at home this easy way. I'm just going to note here, this is from a long time ago, and the text is there on the screen. I see no reason not to read it. I would urge caution if you choose to make munitions at home this easy way. I can't really tell you not to try it at home, because this is a government publication that says, do this at home. I would encourage caution. American guns must have gunpowder to keep firing. You can help supply that gunpowder by saving your used cooking fats and greases to make glycerin. It's a vitally important job, a job that only women can do. All right, guys, sorry. I'm sorry. Any non-women out there watching, I apologize. Unfortunately, you are incapable of making glycerin from cooking fats and greases. It is a job that only women can do. Says so. Right there. A job that only women can do. Anarchist's Cookbook, Housewife Edition. Save at least a tablespoonful every day. When you have a can full of waste fats, rush it to your meat dealer at once. The sooner you turn in your used fats, the sooner our boys can deliver the knockout blow. Don't let them down. Do your part. Now! Hey, that didn't give me any instructions on making glycerin. That's false advertising. You said you were going to tell me how to make munitions at home. In fairness, they were sending the men off to die. This is true. Okay, I'm scared of this one. We may need historical terms. Women make bang bang, men go bang bang. Oh, pretty witchery. Oh dear. Speak Japanese. And this font is somewhat problematic. Just, yeah. Oh God, no, I'm not even reading. Wow. Oh gosh. I will be, historical terms. I hadn't read the words yet, Puddleglum. I will be updating the language so that we can read this. You're free to see what the words actually are by looking at the screen. I'll zoom in for you by physically moving the camera closer. That's um it's weird because in order to do the larger scale things, I had to move the camera to the side, and so like the top is to my right, which makes it harder to get them level on screen. Anyway, tell the Japanese in the only language they understand, the language of shells and bullets. You can do it by turning in used cooking grease for gunpowder. Oh my god. Even like before I fully read the sentence, I didn't process exactly what it was saying. Let me try this once more. And yeah, I'm still gonna like adjust language here, but tell the Japanese in the only language they understand, the language of shells and bullets. You can do it by turning in used cooking grease for gunpowder. Rationing needn't stop you. The government doesn't want your fats until all the cooking good is gone. Then every drop is desperately needed. Just 1 tablespoonful will fire 5 machine gun bullets. Even with rationing, you can save at least that much every day. Rush each canful to your meat dealer. So the whole speak Japanese was not referring to language at all, which was lost on me until I actually started reading. This one, I don't know exactly why. I feel like there was pushback against donating grease until the cooking. Yeah. Oh, people were like, but cook like the fat. It's cooking fat is rationed. I only get so much of it. If you want me to turn in my used cooking fat, but I could still use it again. So they were trying to be very clear, like, use it as many times as you want. We'll take it when you're done. So this one is very similar to the one we just looked at, but this one is German themed. Yet somehow the font for Visit Munich, less problematic because this font, while it does evoke Germany, is not something used exclusively to refer to Germany. Whereas the font used on Speak Japanese here really doesn't get used for anything else, which is why it's problematic. Drop in on the Nazis at their famous brown house with shells. Fired by the used cooking grease you and other American women turn in. Rationing needn't stop you. The government doesn't want your fats until after all the cooking good is done or is gone. But then every drop is needed. Yeah, same message. Love black letter fonts. You can take them when I die. This camera, it's a good camera. I wish it would be a little snappier on the autofocus. And I wish the stand that they made for it is really flimsy, and I just need a much sturdier like stand. But I do like that it attaches to the stand with a magnet, and so I can easily pull it off and like move in and out if I need to. Yeah, another historical term. Dear Mom, today I bagged a Japanese plane with your kitchen fats. Let's see. The South Pacific. Dear Mom, today I knocked off a 0 with your kitchen fats. Hard to believe, but it's true. The grease you save and turn in goes to make gunpowder for our guns. Keep it up, Mom. We can use plenty ammunition out. We can use plenty ammunition out here. Your waste fats make glycerin, and glycerin makes powder for airplane cannons. Get the neighbors to help too. You tell them what to do. Save at least a tablespoonful of fat every day. Pour it into a can, and as soon as it's full, rush it to the butcher. In less than 3 weeks, it'll be made into gunpowder for us. So tell them to step on it, will you, Mom? We need it. Love, Joe. If my son was at war and that's all he wrote to me, he'd have an enemy on the home front. All right, we've got a comic, and this is okay. Don't listen to Mr. Schickelgruber. I don't know enough German to know if that has any meaning that is lost on me. It does not. Thank you, Fluten. That's right, lady. Pour that waste grease right down the drain. Listen, you waste fats make glycerin, and glycerin makes gunpowder to blast you and your gang off the earth. Ladies, don't delay. Waste fats are urgently needed for gunpowder. Save at least a tablespoon a day. When the cooking good's gone and you have a can full, hurry it to your meat dealer at once. Don't pour that grease down the drain. That ruins your pipes. This is very true. It depends on whether it's a heat. Well, yeah. Certain greases from cooking are okay. The ones that don't solidify at room temperature, you're probably good with. The ones that do solidify at room temperature do not go down the drain. Samples of salvage campaign advertising. Oh gosh. There's never enough time. Ooh. An emergency statement to the people of the United States. I'm actually gonna... Schickelgruber is his family name? I did not know this. Interesting, Blue Rooster. Thank you for looking that up, and I never knew that little piece of trivia. So this is from the United States WPB, the War Production Board. An emergency statement to the people of the United States. And of course, we've got D.M. Nelson, chairman of the War Production Board. How can you help? The answer is on this page. I hope every American citizen will read it and act on it. These are samples. This is a full-page announcement meant for a daily newspaper. So this one is steel. They want steel. They want scrap iron. And that was certainly one of the drives of gather scrap iron. Turn it in. Help the war effort. Oh, this one's a bit more graphical, so easier. Needed for war. Follow this chart and save it as a basis for collecting waste materials in your house and on your premises. So essentially, this was a humongous recycling campaign. Years before the 1980s reduce, reuse, recycle, there's too much trash, we need to recycle everything push. They were actually gathering stuff to make into other stuff. They just weren't doing it to help the environment. They were doing it to make materiel for war. But essentially, this was a huge recycling drive. Couldn't mine the iron quickly enough. Right. Let's see. Old stoves, radiators, bathtubs, boilers, toys, plumbing tools. Plumbing, tools. Crank handles, lawnmowers, tire chains, furnace grates, bedsteads, flat irons, ash cans, outdoor steel furniture, muskets, golf clubs, sleds, bicycles, pokers, garden implements, bed springs, all kinds of pipes, refrigerators, garbage pails, iron stakes and fencing, iron wheels and doorstops. Helps make shells, guns, cargo ships, aircraft carriers, armored cars, tanks, submarines, rangefinders, all machines and armaments of arms of war. About 50% of every tank, ship, and gun is made from scrap iron and steel. Other metals, rubber, rags, manila rope, burlap bags, old batteries, lighting fixtures, cooking utensils, automobile and bicycle tires and tubes, garden hose, rubbers, clothing, dust cloths, rags, draperies, rugs, carpets, manila rope in any condition, burlap bags. Okay, two things from this list. Rubbers in this case is not what in United States American English today would be meant by the word rubbers. In American English today, rubbers is used to refer to condoms. Rubbers in this context means like rain boots, like galoshes or whatever, like the little rubber booties that you put on over your shoes when it's raining. That's what rubbers means in this context. Manila rope. It's funny. I'm not actually familiar with this term. I know manila envelopes and manila folders. I never have actually learned why it's called manila folders, but presumably because they were typically manufactured in Manila. Manila rope was named Manila rope because of the historical center of production, Manila, the capital of the Philippines. It's hemp rope. Yeah, like a jute rope. Even with a nation pressed into war mode, there's just not enough people to keep all of the industries going at the pace needed to get resources. Yeah. And so these items help make bombs, fuses, binoculars, compasses, planes, tires for trucks, jeeps, gas masks, barrage balloons, parachute flares, insulation for electric wiring. Okay, this is a thing I did not actually understand until an episode of Doctor Who, one of the ones that had Jack Harkness in it. I don't remember specifically which one it was. I had heard the term barrage balloons before. I had read books that referred to barrage balloons, and I did not understand exactly what they were. I knew the purpose behind them and why they existed. What I did not know was that they looked like Zeppelins. And so there's an episode of Doctor Who that I saw way back where the story takes you to a sort of like an alternate timeline, alternate universe. And you see London with all of these little Zeppelins above the city. And I didn't know at that time that those were barrage balloons. I had heard the term and heard it described in the context of World War II, and I had never seen it illustrated and had the name attached to it. So they were two completely different things, and I just thought that there were a bunch of Zeppelins in this alternate London. And then later on, during the episode with Captain Jack Harkness, that actually had scenes taking place on top of a barrage balloon in World War II London, that was when I finally made the connection between the term barrage balloon and the Zeppelin-looking things that were floating above London. And it just never... Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right, Pretty Witchery. Rubbers are erasers. They're not the galoshes. They're erasers. That was just me. My brain made the wrong connection. I knew it was not what we refer to as rubbers today, but you are correct. It is rubbers in American English at the time did refer to erasers, not the little rubber boots. Yes, Pretty Witchery. It is the episode where Jack meets Rose. But yeah, that was the first time that I realized that barrage balloons were these basically tiny little zeppelins that were tied to float up above buildings to cause interference with planes trying to do bombing runs. Like they were to help prevent bombs from hitting certain areas. You'd have balloons there because if the bomb hits the balloon, yeah, there'll be damage, but a lot less than if it hits the ground. And if the balloon is high enough and it interferes with, it just makes it so the plane can't even fly over that part of the city, then a bomb's not going to get dropped on that part of the city. It makes so much sense. I just never understood that they were Zeppelin shaped. And so I had seen them depicted and I had read about them and I had never connected the two. It's similar to, I had heard the term ennui, and I had seen the term ennui written down, and I did not know they were the same word. Because I had never seen it and heard it at the same time. Anyway, there was the illustration of barrage balloons. I had to talk about barrage balloons because I didn't know. Let's see what else we got. Oh gosh. This one wants to tear because it's been folded and I don't want to tear it. Oh. How about, let's do this. And then there's one thing I definitely want to look at. And so we'll have to do it quick because, wow, look at the time. Quiz on junk. I always mentally pronounce hyperbole twice because I learned my words by reading alone. Oh. Hyperbole? I'm not sure. That one I knew, so I'm not sure how it would be wrong, but that's just me. Like chamomile, I know chamomile and I knew chamomile, but then hyperbole, yeah, that would make sense. Like I know chamomile and I knew chamomile, but then I encountered a comedian who did puppet comedy, and his puppet, there was a skit that he did where his puppet pronounced it shamamale, and ever since it's just fun to call it shamamale. I had never, it was just always chamomile. That was just how you spelled chamomile. But now every time I see it, I think of shamamale and it makes me smile. Quiz on junk. What to save for the scrap collection campaign, how to save it, where it goes, the importance of what it makes. All right. If we're doing a quiz, we're doing a quiz. Question. What kinds of junk does our country especially need? I'll give you a couple of seconds here. Your country is calling for junk. Rusty old stuff you once kicked out of the way or threw onto a dump. It is now worth its weight in planes, tanks, shells, ships, and other fighting materials for our armed forces. Legally, I cannot do this quiz as it is not my country. This is true. I know there was Australian propaganda. I don't know that I have any. Like World War II, there was definitely Australian propaganda. I just don't know that I have any of it. Scrap iron and steel, old rubber, and all scrap materials such as copper, brass, zinc, and tin, rags, burlap bags, and manila rope. Okay. If we had more time, I might do more with the quiz, but instead, I'm gonna cherry pick some. Would there be any difference in a bomb made entirely from new metal rather than one made from half new metal and half scrap? No. The enemy wouldn't know what hit them in either case. The so-called scrap, which is melted with new metal in the form of pig iron, is already refined and produces highest quality steel. They're explaining recycling in the 1940s. What about tin cans? Needed only in areas near detinning plants, as announced locally. What the heck is a detinning plant? Metal, rubber, glass, etc. were never really the problem. It's the plastic that got us. Yeah. Also, like, glass bottles, so recyclable, because you don't even have to, like, melt them and reform them. As long as they're not broken, you just wash them and use them again. Anyway. Hi, Shadows of Life. Anyway, these are just so fascinating. But the thing is, we look at these and, like, just glancing at them and thinking about, like, oh, these are so amazing. Look at these fascinating depictions of propaganda, and we don't do this anymore. Oh my gosh, yes, we do. We do. It's just that they look different now, so we don't recognize them nearly as much as propaganda. There's plenty of it out there. Shoot down a Stuka from your kitchen window. A tablespoon of used cooking fat saved every day for a month will make enough glycerin for powder to fire 4 37mm anti-aircraft shells. I love this illustration though. Look at the woman with the high caliber gun, but still in like the frilly top with an apron on, no less, having shot down the Stuka. And or like this one. So this is this is definitely meant, like, these are American propaganda. I don't know how common it was to specifically talk about German Stukas in the US. This to me feels much more like it belonged as a British ad, even though this is an American one. Because the British were very aware of Stukas and how to identify different German aircraft. I imagine the same was probably true of Americans, but we don't hear about it in that context as much. This one, though, very American. Stop this tank! And you've got, like, illustration of a 1940s blonde housewife with apron about to toss a grenade at a tank. 31 Tablespoons full of used kitchen fat contain enough glycerin for 1.5 pounds of gunpowder. Turn it in for war. Use every drop of fat you can't eat. The British were experiencing collective trauma that forced memorizing. Yeah. Oh gosh. Totally been here. Oh. Yeah, we have propaganda. It just doesn't have this sort of pizzazz. And an awful lot of it is Twitter bots. I would agree. Salvage program. Waste paper conservation campaign. Wow. There's some gems in here. Whole freaking Lieutenant Jane comic strips. Lieutenant Jane, Army nurse, writes home. Dear Mom, if you could have seen one of our AA batteries go into action here today, you'd see why I'm always after you to save waste fats. Those guns use plenty of gunpowder, and the powder is made with glycerin that came from your kitchen grease. One of our gunners, who had brought down 2 Stukas, was hit by a bomb fragment. I fixed him up with a first aid kit. By the way, that glycerin from your fats goes into our medicine too. Keep on turning in that grease, Mom. You're right here fighting with us. Love, Jane. She's cute. I hope she's not racist. Oh no, we have to disown her too. Writing this to your mother, really? Well, what does she write to her sister? Lieutenant Jane, Army nurse, writes her sister. Sorry, reading the cursive is just a little bit of like handwriting that just makes me stumble just a titch. Dear sis, that secret crush of yours, Bill Wright, practically fell into a Japanese machine gun nest last night. And maybe some of that kitchen grease I've been after you to salvage saved his life. He blasted them with a grenade and then cut loose with his automatic rifle. It sure took a lot of waste fats to make the gunpowder he used up. While I was bandaging him up, we got to talking about home. Bill said it made you folks seem a lot closer to know that maybe the grease from your Sunday morning bacon was used to make the glycerin that goes into the surgical dressing and ingredients we use in our first aid kits and in all the hospitals. Keep turning in those fats, sis. For Bill and me, love, Jane. Jane's obsessed. She goes on to write to her dear Aunt Abby, but I'll leave that one for now. I was unfamiliar with Lieutenant Jane, Army nurse. And we got door-to-door mop-up waste paper collection. Ooh, this one is somewhat appealing. This was the one that was used for the graphic for today's episode. Slightly too wide for the current camera height, so... Paper holiday, a great success! Cities and towns throughout America top salvage quotas. Use kit sent you recently and declare a paper holiday. Wrap up the war. A program suggested by the War Production Board. This is the most interesting. Okay. Not only is this propaganda, this is propaganda advertising propaganda to people who will then post propaganda to advertise to the public. A plan to organize your town's paper holiday. This kit contains A. plan to organize your town paper holiday. B. Opening news release used in Peoria. C. Bulletin to retailers of your town. D. Suggested newspaper releases. E. Radio spot announcements. F. Opening speech for paper holiday. G. Suggested drop-in ads and store display material. H. Full-page newspaper ad suggestions. Your town's paper needed to meet national goal. Declare a paper holiday with towns like... Oh gosh. I just found a way they could save paper. Don't print this. Listen, Peoria, we want your waste paper so badly we'll come and collect it ourselves at 9 a.m. Tuesday, October 3rd. We're not fooling Peoria. The Army needs waste paper so badly that a regular company of soldiers under our own Army officers using Army trucks will take over the job of picking up your waste paper on Pickup Day, Tuesday, October 3rd. We'll stop in front of your house looking for at least 30 pounds of waste paper. We want more, much more, if you can scrape it up for us, but we expect at least 30 pounds from every house in Peoria. We're asking you to help us. Tie waste paper up in bundles or pack it in boxes or bags and have it on the curb in front of your house not later than 9 a.m. Tuesday, October 3rd. Wow. That's very aggressive. Like, we're gonna stop by and you better give us 30 pounds of paper. We expect every house to give us 30 pounds of paper. Who the hell back then had 13 kilograms of paper? I don't know. Cries for all the unarchived ephemera. What's just really interesting to me is that this is a propaganda advertisement advertising propaganda. This is so meta because this propaganda is to advertise propaganda campaigns. Wow. I don't think I had realized that, even though we used it for the graphic. I was just like, whoa. Oh gosh. But I mean, think about it. There weren't at-home printers or anything. Literacy was lower, if I remember correctly. Newspapers were used to clean or line things. Actually, newspaper is great. Like, I think we ended up doing more propaganda than we did the food stuff. I might have to do another episode just to do the food stuff that was supposed to be today. We might have to just change the description of today to propaganda because I ended up spending all the time on propaganda. That's my bad. Because there's good things like this, holiday dinners under wartime rationing, that we haven't even looked at yet. I don't think Betty Jo was hiding 13 kilos of letter stationery. And see, I don't think that they would want my paper after I had used it as liner for my bird cages. But still. Yeah, I think we're going to have to come back because I spent the entire 2 hours on propaganda posters, which were very interesting, and I hope you all found them as interesting as I did. The book we looked at was Food E, but it was also basically propaganda. But like, there's this whole World War II food ephemera collection that we haven't looked at that is worth looking at, and I just don't have time. There's no more time. It's time for me to be ending and getting ready to go home. And then there's the like this one's got like World War One food ephemera menus. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do another episode. Would you all be interested in another episode where we actually look at some of these menus and things? I hope so, because I'm going to. I'm glancing at this stuff and I'm like, yeah, we need to look at this stuff. This is interesting. I mean, we've done ration books before, but like handwritten recipes and other things. This is like, I can't not do this. Like, this was one of the, I really, when I, at 4:30, when I was like, there's one thing I want to make sure we get to today, I don't have time to cover this. But like, we have to talk about victory gardens. I need like a half hour to do victory gardens. So yeah, we're gonna have to do another episode. We'll just have to retitle this one to talk specifically about propaganda, since that's what it ended up being. And we'll do the food stuff next time. That we like in a few weeks' time. Hey, we do our best. Just retitle it part 1. That's also possible. But this is basically an unboxing, and like, while there's a theme and we try to pull items based on a theme, I haven't seen them before. I knew that the Victory Gardens thing existed. I didn't know where it was, or I would have prioritized it earlier. But this whole stream is part of like discovery. So it's the wonder of what do we come across. I don't mind having gone way off target. Propaganda was part of what we were supposed to look at, although it wasn't supposed to be all of what we looked at, but I'm okay with that. Okay. So this was propaganda during the World Wars. And we'll look at food and agriculture in September. Next week, however, we're heading back to the 1860s, which might feel like a familiar time considering that the Peltz Journal that we had been looking at is set during the 1860s. Oh, for anybody who arrived later or came in with Eric's raid, the Philip Peltz Journal, the journal from the chief engineer of the USS Dakota from the American Civil War that we've been looking at once a month, it'll be roughly 6 months before we look at it again, because we have sent the journal to the conservator, who will be doing some repair on it. We should have it back sometime around January, and so that sub-series is on hiatus for now, but when it comes back, I'll get to show off like the newly repaired version of the journal, and we'll continue reading it at that time. But next week, we will be specifically looking at Civil War aeronautics. So this is American Civil War again. Aeronautics. We're going to be looking at war balloons from the Union and Confederate armies during the American Civil War. That's next week. 2 weeks from today, Conan, Man of Destiny. is what we're going to look at. Some spec fiction stuff, and so it's going to be Conan. And then 3 weeks from today, it'll be Civil War time again, but this time it will be the very first submarine, the CSS Hunley. And then it looks like we've got the Hauser Institute of New York. We're going to revisit that one in mid-August. Then we'll have some more Jello with Kira, and then something spec fiction. And so it'll be September 4th before we come back to this and specifically do the World War I and World War II food stuff. So that will be September 4th when we get to that topic. But I will return to it. Yeah. I'm excited for the hot air balloon, the war balloons. I'm also excited for the CSS Hunley. Like, I'm excited to see both of those. You're always excited for these end of stream previews. I'm happy that, like, that's as far out as we've planned. But I think we've got some good stuff coming up. So hopefully I'll see some of you back then. Let me see. Let me figure out what we're going to raid, because I do sadly have to actually end the stream. I know sometimes it's like, but do I really have to, like, stop streaming? Like, really? Yes, the answer is yes. Oh gosh, no, thank you very much. Thank you. Not gonna happen. No. Sorry. The first word on Monterey Bay Aquarium's description was just, I will not be, no, absolutely, no, nothing spidery, thank you. It's been a few weeks, actually, so I think we're gonna head to Stephen Joy's. We haven't been to see Stephen in a while, and Stephen was lovely and popped into chat a little earlier today, so let's head over to say hi to Stephen Joyce, who is playing Unforeseen Incidents. It's a very unique art style. We love Stephen. Stephen is a wonderful streamer who finds the most relaxing, cozy games. Always finds just puzzle games and cozy games and a lot of, like, indie content, and it's so wholesome, and Stephen's community is wonderful, and Stephen wears tiny hats, and how can you not love tiny hats? If you're so inclined, ask for a tiny hat when you get over there. Stephen will put one on for you. So I'm going to start the raid over to Stephen Joyce. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I hope that you had a great time. I had fun. I will see you hopefully next Wednesday for more Archival adventures. Until I do, keep exploring history, everybody. Somewhere, the ending. Bye.